You think you know everything? You don't. The room was silent, but Songyun's voice cut through it like glass. The first half of her live stream had already broken the internet, but now, in part two, she looked straight into the camera, her jaw tight, her eyes glistening. You all think you've seen everything, she began, her tone trembling between anger and hurt. But you haven't seen what happens when the cameras stop. You haven't seen the moments that never make the headlines. The comment section exploded instantly. What is she talking about? Flooded the feed. Thousands were glued to their screens, waiting for the next bomb to drop. Su Kai, watching from the balcony of his hotel suite, gripped his phone tighter. Every word, she said, felt like it was aimed straight at his chest. Songyun took a deep breath, her hands trembling in front of her. For weeks, I stayed silent because I thought protecting him was the right thing to do, she said, her voice breaking. But silence only gave space for lies to grow. Then she did something nobody expected. She reached for her phone, tapped the screen, and played an audio recording. The voice was unmistakable, Su Kai's, low, shaky, and desperate. I don't care what the press says. I don't care if they drag my name through the mud. I only care if you stop looking at me like I'm worth fighting for. The live chat went insane. Some were sobbing. Others were screaming in all caps. She paused the recording, wiping at her eyes. You think you know the truth because of a few paparazzi photos? Her voice hardened. You saw the fight outside that restaurant, but you didn't see what happened 5 minutes later when he begged me not to walk away. Flashback, the night of the restaurant incident. Cameras had caught Su Kai and Songyun in a heated exchange outside a high-end Beijing restaurant. The tabloids painted it as a public breakup. What the world didn't know, until tonight, was that the moment after she turned to leave, Su Kai had chased her into a dim alley, away from the flashing lights. Songyun, please, he had pleaded, his voice hoarse. Rain was already soaking through his shirt, but he didn't care. If you walk away now, I'll lose the only person who's ever seen me for more than my fame. She had stood frozen, torn between anger and the ache in her chest. Then why, she'd whispered, do you keep giving me reasons to doubt you? He hadn't answered. Instead, he'd pulled her into his arms. And despite her resistance, she had felt his heartbeat pounding wildly against hers. Back to the present, the final reveal. Songyun leaned closer to the camera. The truth is, the man you're all ready to judge is also the man who sat outside my hospital room for 3 nights when I was too sick to move. The man who almost missed a career-changing meeting because he was holding my hand through a panic attack. She hesitated, then lifted her wrist, revealing a delicate bracelet. He gave me this on the day everything started falling apart. He told me, if you can't find me in the chaos, look at this and know I'm still here. The chat was pure chaos now. Some were begging them to reconcile, others were demanding more proof, and a few were stunned into silence. Somewhere across the city, Su Kai shut his eyes, listening to every word. He didn't know if this was her way of saying goodbye, or her way of giving them one last chance. What the world did know, this was no longer just a scandal. It was a love story the internet would never forget. You think you know, but you don't. The studio lights were harsh, almost interrogative, as Tan Songyun sat forward in her chair. Her fingers twisted together in her lap, knuckles white, betraying a nervousness she refused to show on her face. The cameras were already rolling, the world watching in real time, waiting for her to slip, to say something that would confirm the rumors they had been feeding on for weeks. I didn't come here to defend him, she began, her voice firm, though the quiver in her tone hinted at the storm inside. I came here because I can't stand seeing half-truths destroy someone I know better than anyone else. The host, a sharp-tongued media veteran, leaned in. Tan Songyun, the footage of Su Kai leaving the hotel with that woman. That's not the whole story, she cut in, her voice suddenly rising. The room went still. You've seen a clip, not the hours before or the hours after. You don't know what happened or what he was fighting through that night. Gasps echoed from the audience. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't blink. Flashback. The night in question. Rain was pouring in sheets over Shanghai, neon lights blurring in the puddles on the pavement. Su Kai stood outside the hotel, jacket soaked through, one hand clutching his phone while the other tried to hail a cab. The woman beside him, a stylist from the production team, was visibly shaking, drenched and barefoot after a mishap during the wrap party. Just get inside, Su Kai had urged, holding the hotel door open for her. You're going to get sick. She resisted at first, but he had guided her in, ignoring the flashing lights of a paparazzi camera across the street. He hadn't cared. All he wanted was to make sure she was safe. Inside the lobby, he handed her his jacket and told the receptionist, "Please get her a room on my bill. Just make sure she's okay." He had left before she could thank him, disappearing into the wet night. But the camera hadn't caught his departure. It had only captured the two of them entering the hotel together, an image twisted into weeks of scandal. Back in the studio. You think you know who Su Kai is from what you see online, Tan Songyun continued, voice trembling now. But I've seen him take the blame for things to protect others. I've seen him stay silent when the truth would have cleared him, just so someone else wouldn't get hurt. Her voice cracked, and she looked down, breathing hard. The host hesitated before asking, "So you're saying this was all a misunderstanding?" She lifted her head, eyes blazing. "I'm saying you all watched a movie with half the scenes cut out and still think you understand the ending." The studio erupted in murmurs. Cut to a shocking audience moment. A man in the front row suddenly stood up, holding up a tablet. "Then why did you ignore him for weeks after?" he demanded, playing a clip of her walking past Su Kai on set, expression cold, as if he were invisible. The entire audience gasped again. Songyun froze. "Because," she whispered, "I thought he'd chosen to let me believe the worst." The host leaned forward. "And now?" Songyun swallowed hard. "Now. I know he was protecting me from people who would have gone after me if they thought I was involved that night." The unexpected arrival. Just as the segment was wrapping, the studio doors burst open. Su Kai himself walked in, dressed in black, his hair damp as if he'd just stepped out of the rain. The audience went wild, security scrambling, the cameras swinging toward him. He didn't look at the host. He didn't look at the cameras. He walked straight to Tan Songyun, stopping inches away from her chair. "I told you I didn't care what they said about me," he murmured, loud enough for the microphones to catch, "but I couldn't stand them dragging you into it." Her lips trembled. "You should have told me the truth." His voice was low, raw. "And risk you getting caught in their mess? I'd rather they destroy me 1,000 times." The audience was holding its breath. For a long, suspended moment, they just stared at each other, anger, pain, and something unspoken flickering between them. Then she stood, her hand brushing his, and whispered, "Next time, we fight together." Su Kai closed his eyes briefly, as if that one sentence had lifted the weight of the last few weeks. The cameras caught it all, the tears she finally let fall, his jaw tightening as he fought his own. The clip was destined to go viral within minutes. And somewhere in that studio, someone whispered exactly what every viewer was thinking. This isn't just a controversy anymore, it's a love story, fighting to survive in the middle of a storm.